Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the iCave Live. How you doing? Let me know if you're in the chat already, and if you can hear me. I'm just going to go ahead and share this on Twitter so that we can get a few more people in, and we will get started. But how is everyone? Let me know how the sound is, so we can make sure you can hear me. I guess that'll be really helpful. Hope everyone's having a really good day. I know we normally do this on a Friday, but I know I'm going to be working tomorrow, so just thought we'd get ahead of it and do it today. Who's in the chat? Say hello. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Nice. Thank you very much for letting me know the sound's good. That's excellent. We always have to do this at the start just to be sure, because it can vary quite dramatically. How is everyone? I know we haven't got a huge number here just yet, but we've got a few things to talk about today. First one that I've got on my list is some of these extra ads that Apple's been putting out for WWDC. We've got some really compelling stuff that's, I mean, it definitely looks like they're going quite consumer focused for this event compared to most of the others. They're tweeting about it a lot. We've got all those coloured emojis going on, which we think might be something to do with MacBook Airs, so that's pretty interesting. But then we've also got these kind of Memoji collecting trading cards, and that's what's kind of pushing me towards thinking we might be looking at some NFT crypto type stuff. Werner Weiss, how you doing? It's been a while, sir. Derek C, how are you? Thank you for being here. So yeah, we're going to talk through a bunch of stuff from this week's Apple news. And yeah. Why is my latest tweet not showing? There it is. We are good. We are good. But yeah, what is everyone excited for WWDC? Obviously, we're only a few days away now, which is really cool. We've got some questions in the lineup ready for tomorrow's show as well. We're going to be doing an iCave Answers that I'm going to record straight after this. But I have actually done some changes around the office here a little bit, so I can actually just show you up here if my camera is going to play the game. There we go. And this should be able to come up. We've got a little shelf on the back here now that's got some little trinkets and things and some old Macs and a Newton up there. And then over here, we've changed some of the lighting bits around. So if we come a little bit further, we've managed to make it so that I can basically just throw my phone in when I'm going to record straight into the teleprompter, which is just over here. There it is, somewhere there. Yeah, so it should be nice and quick to actually set stuff up. The camera we're using is, as usual, the OBS bot, which I've had for review and still need to actually record a review for, but I've mentioned it on all of the live streams that we've done, and it's basically a tilt and pan little moving head camera, which is really, really good. 4K, the works. It's a really nice little bit of kit. Naked Bananas, how are you doing? Very good to see you. But yes. So NFT stuff. Is anyone actually here into crypto and NFT and stuff like that? I mean, I'm not here to promote it. I'm not here to kind of extol its wonders, but it just looks to me like that's what Apple might be doing, and that's the thing that makes it interesting for me at the moment. I've got a couple of NFTs, nothing crazy, nothing expensive, just a couple of projects that my friends have. I won't go into that today unless you're super interested in it, but yeah, we've had definitely some images that have been coming up. Let me see if I can just grab one of them now, and we'll chuck it into here. Let me just change this one. Fingers crossed. I always forget how to do this stuff. That's not the thing I wanted the properties for. I'm so good at this. This is as professional as it gets, I think. Here we go. Right. Let's throw in this image. It's the one that I was using on Twitter just now to talk about it as well. So let's do this. So this is one of the images that's kind of convincing people, I think, that NFTs are something that's coming. We will certainly talk about M2 and iMacs and stuff in just a second, but I just wanted to throw this one up first. So I don't know if anyone else has seen this image that Apple's put out. but this looks a lot like trading cards, digital trading cards. The backgrounds look a lot like the different kind of generative backgrounds that you get with various NFT projects, which is why it made me think this. And I think there's a decent chance that Apple could be doing something along the lines of allowing you to use Apple Wallet to hold NFTs. I think that would be quite good to have an easy way for people to do it, because at the minute, buying, selling NFTs, crypto in general, none of it is simple. None of it is kind of particularly user friendly. It's all a little bit of a pain. Verna Weiss, hope WWDC will be mainly about software and not about consumer hardware spam. Oh, cutting. I think the obviously software is going to be the main thrust of it. I think we might see a little bit of M2 MacBook Airs. I think that's quite possible. I think we might get Mac Minis with M2 as well. It would just make sense to put the two out together. I don't think we're going to see a MacBook Pro 13-inch with it, so we will see. Derek C, I already chime in, but since this is actually live, thank you very much for your content. Well, you're very welcome, Derek. I'm glad you enjoy it. But do feel free to get involved, and if you've got any questions for iCave Answers, throw them down in the comments, and love to answer some questions for you on the show. But yeah, I think let's talk about Macs, because that's really what we're all here for. So MacBook Air M2, I think we've got a decent chance of it. Software wise, I think there's obviously going to be a massive focus on that at WWDC, because that's what it's supposed to be. We could see developer SDKs for VR AR headsets. That would be good too. But I'm not 100% convinced now. I think we might see some hardware for that, but I don't think we'll see anything consumer facing. But yeah, what does everyone else think we're likely to see? Do we think we're going to see Reality OS? Is that going to appear at DubDub? Answers on a postcard or just in the chat. That works for me too. This is quite a chilled one today. There's normally loads more people in the chat getting involved, but I don't mind. It's all good. It's just nice to come and hang out, because I haven't been able to do a video for the last couple of days. So yeah, Derek sits always around 6 a.m. my time when you watch. So is that whereabouts are you, Derek? Let me know where in the world you are. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on though. We've got rumours about potential M2 stuff. We've got rumours about potentially the Mac Pro coming as well. Arthur Swart, how you doing? Good morning. Yeah, potential Mac Pro. That would be the first Apple Silicon version. Now, I don't want to blow my trumpet, but I have been saying from as soon as we got Apple Silicon that I didn't think we'd get an Intel Mac Pro again, and we didn't. I'm pretty sure that this next one's not going to be Intel. Famous last words. But yeah, quality before quantity. Well, absolutely. I mean, the reason for the lack of quantity is not from any sort of quality perspective, but purely that I've been working loads the last couple of days. It's been pretty busy. We were down a supervisor at work. We just managed to hire someone else, so that's good. Yeah. Just having a quick look to see if there's anything crazy going on Twitter, because there's always the fun breaking news turns up over there. Let's see. Anything good going on. Naked Bananas in Reading, UK. Oh, very nice. I mean, it's Reading, but it's fine. It's not an unpleasant part of the UK. Calgary, Alberta, Canada for Derek. Very nice. So are you the French speaking bit, or are you the English speaking bit? Like, primarily. Just wondered. Obviously we've got the Jubilee at the moment, so it's a bank holiday today here, and then we've got another bank holiday tomorrow, but I've got to go into work. Yeah, Verna Weiss, today is a public holiday. It's the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. We have two together, so we've got today's the spring bank holiday, tomorrow's the special Jubilee one. And she's not turning up to the service because it was uncomfortable for her today watching from Buckingham Palace, which is unfortunate. I don't think she's got a huge amount of time left. She is 96, so yeah, she's doing okay. But I think there's going to be some surprises. There's got to be some sort of hardware. Evan is back, excellent stuff. Sean P, how you doing? There's got to be some sort of hardware stuff going on at DubDub because they've invited all these people down, and even when COVID has started to pick up again, they've not gone, never mind, don't do the in-person bit. They've gone, wear a mask, all that sort of stuff. So they want to show people some stuff. Derek C, nope. Frostbitten Canadian English speaking only. Fair enough, my friend. I don't know Canada well enough. It looks like a nice place. But I've never been to Canada. Been to the US. But yeah, I mean, Twitter just seems to be all about the Queen's Jubilee at the minute. WWDC with that Swift thing is trending. We've definitely got what looks like RGB around the outside of that Swift thing. Do we think we're going to get anything going on in terms of gaming on there? Maybe. Arthur Swart, any news on native Linux on M1? I believe somebody's managed to do it as part of a project, but honestly, it's one of those things where I don't think we're going to get dual booting. I think it's going to be virtualized in most cases. I don't think Apple's going to support a dual boot option on this, because it would be like doing a dual boot on an iPad, but maybe that's what they're going to announce. Who knows? Evan Rogers, the Queen will outlive us all. I mean, quite possibly, although I think I might see maybe 2 coronations in my lifetime at least. Sean P, quick question. Any chance we will see a new Apple TV at WWDC? There is a chance, Sean. We have heard rumours about a sort of smaller streaming stick style Apple TV, which there's a possibility of. We've also heard that the Apple TV HD will be made vintage. I think they mean the 3rd generation, not the current Apple TV HD, because normally it's 7 years from stopping selling a device before they make it vintage. But I think Apple TV HD. Let's have a quick look. What does Wikipedia say about it? So we've got, the 3rd generation revision. The 3rd generation started being sold 10 years ago on March the 7th, 2012, and then the newer version was 2015, which would be 7 years since they stopped. 7 years since they stopped selling the 3rd generation. That's what vintage would mean. So I think that's what they're talking about. Let me know if you think differently in the comments. But I don't think they're going to vintage something that they still sell. They just updated the most current HD, didn't they? They didn't update the current HD version. The only one that got updated was the 4K version. The only change to the HD was getting the different remote control, the aluminium one. The 4K switched from an A10X to an A12 inside, from memory. So the A10X was the faster graphics multi-core version, basically the A10 generation's M1. And they basically swapped that out for an A12, which was in the current iPad base model at the time, and gave you the different remote, which is actually less capable than the original one. And the A12 is slightly slower than the A10X, but it seems like it was more just to use a current generation chip that they're currently producing rather than the A10X, which was probably on a different node as well, and maybe they're trying to reduce the amount of that node that they're producing on. Yeah, the GPU power and the CPU power are almost exactly comparable, but it is a handful of points slower on GPU. Yeah, so it's a weird little transition, but it's what they did. And it might be that the single core is a bit quicker as well on it. So that's probably more useful on these things. I don't think we're going to get the LiDAR stuff on there. I don't think we're going to be getting a premium version. I think we might be getting a lower priced version, which would be just as interesting, I think. Sean's asking what programming changes would they need to make to make a gaming console from Apple TV. It wouldn't be programming changes. They would need more power in it. They probably need to go up to like an M1 kind of level of processor, but I don't think they're going to focus on gaming on Apple TV. I don't think it's ever going to be a big thing. I just don't. I don't think that Apple is ever going to do a gaming dedicated device. It doesn't make any sense. Because, sorry, I'm just turning off the pinging on my iPad because that's annoying me, if not anyone else. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything that's going to be specific to one usage. I don't think there's going to be a gaming-focused handheld. I don't think there's going to be a gaming-focused Apple TV, because, as with everything else that Apple does, they want it to be multi-purposed. And I always use the example that it would be like having a Mac for video editing that you can't then edit a Pages or a Word document on. You'd have to get a different device for that. Why would you have something that was purely for gaming and then nothing else? It doesn't make any sense based on what Apple does in terms of their products. So that's my thoughts on that. But in terms of what they need to do programming-wise, nothing. It would just be a case of having a little bit more power underneath. And then Evan is saying, has anyone else noticed significantly higher latency using Bluetooth controllers for the Xbox with Apple TV 4K versus the iPad or iPhone? I haven't. I don't really game on Apple TV very much. We have got an Xbox controller here somewhere that I keep losing. But yeah, we've got one. The kids use it occasionally. But I don't think latency particularly matters for the kind of games that they're playing. Sean P, gaming console with FaceTime, TV and home. I think it would be more of a home hub that would be capable of gaming, but they wouldn't market it as a gaming device. They would market it more as, I think they would market it more as just, a general home hub kind of thing. Thomas, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Evan, how would Apple be different if they were a British company instead of a SoCal company? Well, they probably wouldn't have got much done in the first place. We don't work as long hours. We don't have that kind of hustle culture here as much. In the most part, there's certainly people that are entrepreneurial, and there are people that will put all this kind of work in to kind of build something. But I don't see how Apple could have existed outside of Silicon Valley, really. The reason that Steve was able to build Apple was because he was able to get some free components from the guys that ran HP down the road, because he was cheeky enough to ask for them, and fair play, pretty fun. Yeah, so I don't know if it would have ever existed. However, that being said, we had things like ARM, we had Amstrad and Sinclair, things like that. So, I think there was just more of a market in the US in the first place, and bigger national chains that you could sell into. So if you actually got a national listing, you're selling to, I don't know what the population was like at the time, but it's like 350 million potential customers now, as opposed to about 50 million in the UK at the time. But yes, so did anyone else, I know there's a few people that have just joined us, anyone else have any thoughts on the kind of NFT looking nature of these? They definitely look like trading cards to me, especially in that orientation. That's what kind of makes me think more, unless there's going to be some kind of, maybe they're going to do like rewards into Swift Playgrounds. Maybe this is that sort of thing. Maybe it's an achievement system for Swift Playgrounds. But if you look at these images, we've got kind of Touch ID privacy looking thing here. This is some sort of web browsing. That's our kind of networking icon, right? The third one has got a Swift logo at the top there, but it seems to be like a framework. Is this potentially part of the interface for AR VR? Because it looks a lot like the round Apple Watch interface, but with hexagons. Don't know. Just a thought. Then the fourth one, the cyan, that looks like the test flight logo, but spinning. And then this looks like an SDK one in the blue. That looks like sort of prototype app icon. Not quite sure what the purple is. That's some sort of networking thing. And then it looks like the pink one at the end is like some sort of matrix code, but in a circle instead of raining down. So let me know if there's anything that I'm missing on those. Arthur Swart, re-consoles. Apple got burned with the Pippin. I don't think they'll do it again. When a Mini is a great console if you add a controller. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, if the power's there and they put the software support to actually run the games on the Mac, there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to do all of that. That makes a lot more sense to have the option to play games on the hardware that they have. The iPad is a very capable games console. I think it's more powerful probably than the Switch by a reasonable margin. So yeah, I don't think there's any issues with that. I think we have seen some recent patents on game controllers for iPad and iPhone that clunk onto the sides a bit like the Switch. So there's possibly something along those lines. Maybe it is game achievements that they're adding or revamping in game Game Center. Is that still a thing? I think it is. That's a possibility. Werner Weiss, Amstrad CPC 464 compact PC. I'm not familiar with the model in particular, but I dislike Alan Sugar, who did Amstrad, just for the record. Evan Rogers, Apple Coin. See, there was people saying that maybe they needed to do some kind of their own coin because Bitcoin and Ethereum and the kind of, the other kind of chains are not stable enough in terms of the coin values. But I think if Apple, like, people are doing they're doing wallet stuff, like crypto wallet stuff on their phones anyway. I think what is difficult at the moment is that there's nobody that does it in a way that is easy to do, simple to do, doesn't kind of take like a lot of working out. Whereas I think Apple, if they were to bring it to the Apple Wallet, would be able to kind of streamline all of that process and just make it much, much easier for people to do. And I don't think they'd be doing like exchanges or purchasing coin on there, but being able to just process transactions. Maybe they've got a very green way of processing these transactions, or data centers that are ready to do it all on renewable energy, something like that, because that's the other big issues with crypto and NFTs, especially on Ethereum, is it uses an awful lot of energy to actually process the transactions, which is like your gas fees and stuff. So it just looks to me like they're looking into it. We know that Tim Cook has looked at crypto in the past and believe holds some crypto as well, so potential there. Sean P, gaming on iPad, iPhone, Macs, and Apple TV with HomePods for audio. Yeah, I think this all makes a lot more sense, but they already have that with Apple Arcade. It's more about what will they add to it. There's been the talk of them buying EA potentially, but then EA is basically just shopping themselves around to various companies to see who's interested. And Apple, I don't think has had any more interest. It's just that we hear a lot more about Apple doing it because people care about Apple News a lot more than they do with most of the other companies. And I think there is a decent chance, if Apple was to buy EA, that they would keep the pricing at $4.99 for Apple Arcade and dump in some really like high-end games once they're ported over to run on the Mac and Apple ecosystem. Like Battlefield, whatever it is, 1942, playing on all your stuff as part of Apple Arcade. That'd be really good. Little Mountain Life, hey from Virginia, nice to see you, caught up at 2x speed, hope everyone's well, good. Lightning seems to be working well for simplifying crypto transactions, but definitely room for Apple to jump in. Yeah, I definitely think there is. And, we've heard about them wanting to be their own kind of bank, and as well as payment processing and all the rest of the stuff that they're doing. So kind of makes sense that they might well jump into this sort of thing. It's an interesting area. I think it is going to get a lot more mainstream, and it's not going to be about images. It's not going to be about these little doodles and JPEGs and stuff. It's going to be more about the utility that comes with some of these NFTs and the smart contracts behind them. So just as a quick primer for anyone that might not know what an NFT is, it's basically a digital asset, like a digital collectible in most cases at the minute, and at the minute most of it is an image file. But if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk and the project that he put out, the VFriends, I was explaining this to my wife earlier, so it's all kind of fresh in my head. Every token that they made was a ticket for an in-person conference, so you could only go to this conference if you had one of these NFTs. Anytime that an NFT is sold, in the vast majority of cases, they have a commission built into the smart contract that's built into them, so you can basically give a royalty back to the original creator. So it's in their interests to keep the project going and keep stuff moving on. Evan Rogers, I do, and I'll come to that in just a second. But yeah, there's other utilities that are added into these. So Gary was offering the holders in-person time with him, which is very highly sought after. They have a gift goat, which is one of them, and if you've got that, then you get 6 physical gifts a year for the first 3 years of its existence. But I also think there's going to be stuff that comes along the lines in future where your mortgage will probably be held on the blockchain and exist as an NFT. So when you want to sell your house, you basically sell the NFT of your house to someone else, and it's basically a proof that you own it. But from a collectible point of view, I think concert tickets will probably become NFTs in future, so you might be able to essentially buy the digital ticket stub for the first concert of one of your favourite bands in future. So it's like buying, one of the Beatles' first tickets or something like that. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. So I think that makes hopefully a little bit more sense, maybe. And then if people want to resell tickets for a concert that's upcoming, they can do that at whatever price they want to, and still a commission from that would go to the artist, so they get a little bit of a cut from the change in sale. Hopefully that all makes sense. Right, so to Evan's question, do I own any NFTs? Yes, not a huge amount. One is from Basic Apple Guy, which is the guy who designed this. He's done this in various colorways, and I got the light grey one just to support him. Another one is Eternal Royals, and the third one is Chippy's World, which my friend Zane basically created. He used to work with Gary, and he put a collection together, and I just wanted to create sort of support what he's doing, because he's just a really, really good guy, and I really like the project that he's done. It's all about his art, and he's turning them into sort of characters for stuff in future. So those are the ones that I own. Nothing expensive, nothing like Bored Apes or anything. Thomas Rabenstein about the cards. I think it's about the real core of WWDC, coding and an extension of Swift, or a new version or framework that will be included to enable coding for the AR glasses. But why would they be presenting them in the style of trading cards? Is that relevant, or is it just a coincidence that that's the shape? But would it not make more sense to do it in a different way? I don't know. Put it all into one image rather than what looks like separate ones. Just a thought. Yeah. Evan Rogers, NFTs will make more sense in VR. I think you're right. Like NFTs, yeah, the other equivalent for them would be things like skins in multiplayer computer games that you want to look unique in. You could buy a skin that's one of 500 or something, and if someone else wants to buy it from you, you could resell it if there's a demand for it. If you had one of the top streamers that used a particular skin, and there's only 500 copies of it made, other people want it, then the value of that could go up. So it's quite a possible thing. Sean P is asking gaming, I guess on the same topic, maybe. I do think that it does look like there's some gaming stuff going on here. There's a lot of what looks like RGB stuff coming through, which is obviously related to gaming. We obviously also think some of the colours might be something to do with the new MacBook Airs that are coming, that we expect to come in multiple colours. Maybe the Mac Minis will also come in multiple colours. That would be quite cool too. But yeah, Evan, I see you just retracted a message, but it was about using GPUs to run the transactions for these NFTs. And there's a couple of ways that it's going on. There's a proof of stake rather than proof of work. Proof of work is where you use your GPUs or whatever to process the transactions. Proof of stake is having an amount of storage available, I think, in some way, that people use to swap in and out of, I think. Evan Rogers, NFT should be viewed as a disposable income purchase, not investments. I agree. But all of that being said, there will be some that will gain value. There will be some that, well, the vast majority, that will drop value. The ones that I've bought, as I say, not expensive ones at all, and they're more to kind of show my support for the project that it is, rather than any sort of investment. I don't expect to get any money from these things. I do hold one other, which is Gary V Book Games, because I bought 12 copies of his latest book, so we got a free NFT as a result of that, and those are valued at about $500 as well. So that's actually the most expensive one that I own, and I didn't have to buy it, which is nice. So yeah, what's everyone's main thing that they're hoping to see at WWDC in terms of like software features? There still seems to be very little actual information about what we're going to see. Evan Rogers, I should release an NFT line. You would buy one to support me and say that you bought one. I mean, yeah, it's something that I've thought about, but not in any serious way, and mainly because, there is the minting to it. I would want, if I was going to do it, I would want it to be, number one, it would be a very small run. Most NFTs run sort of 5,000 or so copies, or 5,000 or so NFTs within the kind of collection. I wouldn't be anywhere near that. I would definitely be on the kind of maybe 50, sort of, especially for a first collection, because then if this channel does get big, imagine if we were the size of, like, I don't know, Marquez or Aaron from Mr. Who's the Boss or something along those lines, and we're nowhere near that. We're not going to be near that anytime soon, but imagine if you were one of the first 50 people that was into a channel enough that they decided to buy a token to say, I'm a big supporter of this channel right at the beginning. And then that channel gets up to millions of members. There would be a demand potentially for one of those OG fan tokens, and that's where you would potentially get some appreciation in these things. And I think that's more what's interesting about NFTs, rather than some pictures from nondescript people that don't have any sort of following. I know a lot of celebrities have done it, and I think they're very much a cash grab, and that's why I've not wanted to do something, because I don't want it to be a cash grab. It would definitely have to have some sort of utility if I was going to be running physical events that we could bring people out to, and there was 50 of these NFTs, then what I would probably do is, like, pay for those people to come to said event for free, pay their travel, something like that. That would be an interesting way of doing it and making it something that's got inherent value to it, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It's not something I've considered in detail, but it's certainly crossed my mind. Kind of like these stainless steel cups. So what do we got here? Thomas is saying, I hear a lot about NFTs, but have no idea how it works. I'm doing graphic design, so far have declined to use them in any way or to purchase stuff assigned to them. Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and if nothing else, it's become a way that artists can monetize their work without having to worry specifically about finding gallery space or being able to do something in person that's in a physical space, and with all of the extra costs that are associated with it. I think that's an interesting thing. It's giving people a way to directly interact and fund projects that they are passionate about. Like, you could do the same with stuff along the lines of, like, if you were a music artist, rather than going to a label to kind of pay for studio time to get your music out there, you could sell 20% of your band's stock as an NFT project, which would be enough for you to fund getting the album out, and then all of those people that have an amount of your band would then be able to kind of make a small residual as a way of kind of having funded you, and then they get a small percentage, something like that. You know, this is the kind of thing that you could do with it. So, Arthur Smart says, looking forward to a new Mac Pro at WWDC. Yeah, I think we're probably going to see this. What's everyone's thoughts? Is it going to be part of the M series? Is it going to be an M1 base? Is it going to be based on something completely different? Let me know your thoughts. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's going to be M2 based. I think it's very much going to be M1 Ultras and multiples of them, which I've been saying since November after the first Apple Silicon stuff came out. Evan Rogers says, for WWDC, lots of rumbling about a DeX mode coming on iPadOS 16. Yeah. I mean, there's certainly patents out there for it. Whether it's actually, that quickly going to make its way into iPadOS, I don't know. Would certainly be interesting. I don't think it's better, particularly, to have floating windows, but I think the biggest thing that iPadOS and iOS needs is really to be able to have music playing from one app and then sound from another app, not necessarily replacing it straight away, but being able to run concurrently. So if you have an auto-playing video, and this can happen in certain places, but I think it's more about the way that the apps are written individually, and the fact that they're sandboxed. So you'll get some apps, like for example, if you've got a podcast playing on your iPad or on your iPhone, and you go to Twitter, an auto-playing video will replace the audio from your podcast and stop your podcast playing. However, if you go on to Instagram and you go into a reel, or you turn on the audio on something that's playing in the background or playing in your feed, that will play over the top of what's already playing. So I think there needs to be a bit more consistency about the way that audio is handled on iPhone and iPad, or even if it's just a toggle in the back end in the settings app, which lets you choose if you want it to always interrupt or always play simultaneously. That would be really helpful. Arthur is saying the 5.1, the 5.1 Mac Pro is aging. Is the 5.1 the current one? Is that the cheese grater that we've got now? Let me have a quick look. Let's just check this out, because I'm not 100% sure at this point. Mac Pro 5.1. Oh, so the 5.1 is the old aluminium cheese grater from the very early Intel games. What year is the 5.1? 2010 to 2013. Yeah, so that's not the current one by any stretch. So the 6.1 then would be the trash can, and the 7.1 is the current version. So I don't always think in terms of the comma versions, but yeah, that's where we're talking about now. Sean P. more with the Home app with HomePod software. So HomePods run on tvOS. Hopefully we'll be getting some sort of improvement to that as well. It's weird, but yep, tvOS is actually what they run on. Thomas Rabenstein, every year we expect new great features for iOS or iPadOS, but in daily use we commonly use the most basic features. I think iOS is essentially finished. What do you think about it? I think there's certainly ways that they can update it. Obviously, when we got cinematic mode last year, that's only on the latest iPhones. I think it would be good to see that roll out to more of the phones. Obviously, this year it will roll out to the next generation. But that cinematic video is something that I think people would use. I think being able to basically do portrait mode video is quite a cool thing, and that's not really how they sold it, but I think that's kind of what you can do with it. So there's that. I don't know what else iOS needs. I do think a theme kit would be really good, so that you can actually customize the look of your device. I think that would be really good. As I say, fixing that that little issue that we've got with the audio, that would be really helpful too. But other than that, I do think that having some way of using your iPhone as, like we've been talking about with the iPad, this kind of DeX thing of being able to use that as a desktop operating system as well when you need to, would be great. I don't know why that's not a thing that we can already do. That just feels like it would be reasonably simple to do. Evan is saying that Apple needs to open up the sensors to the apps. Which sensors aren't available to it? Because I thought pretty much all of the sensors could be used. NFC, yeah, you can use it for apps. It's just not for payment apps. That's all. You can certainly use NFC for other apps because we already do. Every day I'm using this one, which is for my son's glucose monitor. So this uses the NFC. Oh, you can't see any of that anyway, but maybe if I come up here, it will actually... There you go. So that's blood glucose monitoring. That uses the NFC chip in order to actually read the scanner that is mounted on his arm. That is something that, again, we've heard about glucose monitoring coming to the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch? Come on, Dave. You can do better than this. But yeah, the Apple Watch is one of those things that glucose monitoring may well come to it. It is not going to be... Yeah, people are saying, oh, it's going to save all these diabetic people from having to do blood glucose monitoring with finger pricks or with an invasive sensor. It's not going to be that level. It's more than likely going to be something that will give you like a background trend idea, and maybe for fitness and maybe for athletes that want to have an idea of how food affects them, and in fairness, in general life, knowing how your blood is reacting to food that you're eating, and being able to kind of smooth that line out a little bit would be probably beneficial for a lot of people. But more than that, it would probably give a lot more people the opportunity to go to a doctor when they've got higher blood glucose over a period of time, rather than waiting for some sort of diabetic crisis before going in and ending up in a coma, which tends to be what happens when people discover they have diabetes. It tends to be a bit more dramatic than it needs to be. And if you've got weeks and months of data of what your blood glucose does, even if it's not particularly accurate, as long as it's giving you the trend data and within 1 millimole, as opposed to the 0.1s that we would get for treating, I think that's going to be really useful for an awful lot of people. Thomas Rabenstein: I think the medium-term Apple conclusion will be to replace or merge the iPhone and iPad with a whole new class of devices, i.e. the AR glasses. If we're talking about Apple Glass as opposed to the headset ones, I think that is going to be kind of more of an Apple iPhone accessory, a lot like the watches right now, compared to the AR VR thing, which is going to be very much standalone. So I think there's a reasonable chance of that. I don't think they're finished, though. I think there's always still scope. It's just like, what other devices could we move into it? Like, we've pretty much taken over the wallet. We've taken over the wristwatch and then brought back the wristwatch anyway. Music player, video player. You can edit documents on it. You have to use the right apps and things like that, and it's not the most convenient way of doing it. Do you remember a few years ago everyone was talking about the little laser keyboard projectors that you can buy on Wish or whatever? Having one of those in your iPads or your iPhone so that it just projects a keyboard and you just type on your desktop. I mean, they're not great to type on, but it's a fun feature. It would be interesting, and it would certainly surprise people. It would be something interesting. I could see that kind of thing coming eventually. I do think that there's going to be a point though where the iPad and the MacBook kind of merge, which is especially when we've seen some of the patents recently for having two touch screens, or a touch screen and a regular screen MacBook that folds together, and the touch screen at the base can become a keyboard. Then at that point, maybe you don't need the iPad as much, but I don't think we're going to see software aligning between the two anytime before we get to touchscreen on the Macs as well. I think it just doesn't quite make sense. Evan Rogers, to move 1 millimole plus unit, to move 1 million plus units of the VR AR headsets, what would pricing of each need to be? I feel like the AR glasses that we've been hearing about, which is going to be a little bit more. I think we heard $500 for these, and these are the ones that sound more magical. Oh, sorry, bash the microphone. That doesn't help. I think we heard $400 to $500 for the AR glasses, which are the ones that sound more magical, but actually there's way more tech that goes into the VR headsets, because you've got dual 8K displays plus a big 4K display. So there's an awful lot of visual stuff there, whereas you would have a very small display for the AR glasses that reflect off of them, and it kind of overlays it onto the world. So I think we could see AR glasses, when they actually coming at around about the price that iPads were when they first came out, which is $500. I think that could be a thing. If it's $500 and you need glasses anyway, as Evans just said, it would be like $500 probably for the base level. Like, I think it might well be a bit like Apple Watch, where you get like the sport version or whatever that is for glasses at $500. And if you need specific lenses, then that's an add-on. But, you know, like it would be with any other frames. And then I think there would probably be like an equivalent of the stainless steel ones that come at, you know, in the $750 to $800 range. And then there's probably an edition version where you can get Hermes branded glasses, or maybe we could even have Nike sport versions and things like that. Are we gonna collaborate with Oakley for some glasses? I don't know, something along those lines. So Ray-Ban maybe even, and essentially I know they're working with Snapchat right now, aren't they? Is it Snapchat or Facebook? Someone, but yeah, Ray-Ban are interested in doing this sort of stuff. But I can see Apple doing like very high-end versions of Apple Glass with people like Hermes, who they've already got these relationships with. That would make sense to me, and I think there would be like an edition version. I think that's probably what they'll do. For the AR VR though, I think we are looking into the multiple thousands of dollars, and I don't think that's going to give them the huge amount of volume that they would hope for. I mean, what volumes do Apple do on Macs right now? Like 8 million ish Macs a quarter, something like that. It's a lot, but it's nothing even close to, like iPhones. You're talking 220 million, 250 million a year. So yeah, I mean we're not anywhere in that ballpark. But I think for this as well, first generation, we're probably going to be looking at, I don't know, maybe 1 million units on the AR VR if they come out in the couple of grand ballpark, I would say. Derek C, do you have the ability to change the intro music during the countdown of your videos, or is that a YouTube regulated audio track? So I think there's like, last I checked, there was like 3 options. So I tend to use the same one most of the times. Yeah, they were definitely putting options in there, and I've seen a couple of different ones coming up. Arthur Swart, Apple Glass popped up on eBay for $8.99 two weeks ago. Okay. Let's assume that wasn't a real thing. But let's have a look anyway. Let me have a look. eBay. Apple Glass. So all I'm getting at the minute is screen protectors, which is probably what you'd expect. Yeah, there's nothing coming up at the moment. For it might well be that someone had made something up to see if they could make a quick buck, and just put on some cheap plasticky glasses and try to sell them for a few $100s. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything on there. I don't think any prototypes would make their way to eBay, and if they did, they would have got pulled down very, very quickly. Oh, Chinese fake stuff. Oh, that makes sense. But yeah, what do we think the chances are of M2 MacBook Airs coming at DubDub? Let me know your percentages in the chat. Let me know what you think we likelihood of getting it. So I think we're probably in the we're north of 50%. I would say like 75, 80% at this point for M2. Derek C, hoping for a Mac Mini for hardware. See, I'm using a Mac Mini M1 at the minute. I think it's great. But the plan is that I would like to get the M2 MacBook Air if it comes out. I think, and then my M1 Mac Mini is the one that would then hopefully go into the Macintosh body to make it a little bit less. So Evan Rogers is saying less than 30% chance of a MacBook Air at WWDC. Werner Weiss says 0%. Is that your hope because you just don't want to see it there, or you really don't think we're going to see it? Evan Rogers is saying still on the 2-year chip cycle. Yeah, but we're basically coming up to 2 years now, so that's fine. I don't think it'll be November, though, before they bring it out. We know that around Apple Park, the M2 MacBook Airs are what most of the developers are using at this point. Like we can see that in people's apps logs. That's what most of the Apple team are using on campus to do their work now. That makes sense that it's on the way. So, if not, guys, right, we know that Apple has invited all of these developers to Apple campus simply to watch the keynote and the State of the Union address, the platform State of the Union. What do you think is the point then? There must be some sort of hardware, I assume, that they want to show people in person, because otherwise there's literally no point in flying them out there to watch it on a screen and then tell them to leave. So what do you think we are going to see that they need to get hands-on with? If it's not going to be AR, VR, if it's not going to be a MacBook Air, they're just going to show them a Mac Pro that they can't really play with and then say, thanks for coming, thanks for flying out. Let me know. Sean P, play on a new Apple TV. I mean, if there is a gaming focus to it and they've all just got Xbox controllers, maybe there's going to be the Apple's own controllers. That would be a good hands-on, I guess. Thomas Rabinstein, the cards M2 MacBook Air makes sense to encourage students to program. That would also make sense for WWDC. Yeah, I think so. Evan Rogers, NFL Sunday Ticket and EA. The EA thing hasn't obviously happened. I mean, there's nothing to say that it's not going on behind the scenes. But also, like, neither of those things, NFL Sunday Ticket or EA, is something you need the developers to be at Apple campus for. This is simply something that they could do with a press release or a video or the usual kind of video stuff. So I don't agree on that one. I do think that the MacBook Air being released just makes sense. The Apple Glass high commas got lost in transit. Oh, Apple Glass. Yeah, I think. Are we all thinking as well that Apple Reality is probably the name for the VR AR headset when it comes? If Reality OS is the operating system, I think that makes the most sense, doesn't it? I think we're going to see MacBook Airs, but then After last WWDC, I went, but where's my MacBooks? Mac Pro is more likely than M2 in your opinion. I think we'll get both. I still don't think we'll get the Mac Pro shipping immediately, but I did hear rumours, I think it was on Max Tech's channel, that we might see the Mac Pro shipping in September. So, revealed at DubDub, shipping September. Evan Rogers, do you think it's going to be called Apple View? Okay. Reality OS, Mac Pro, yeah. I mean, I do think these things are likely, but I think I don't see that they're gonna. They're certainly not going to release the AR VR headset for sale at this point. We know that much because there's no supply chain leaks to say that it's happening right now. Ross Displayman would obviously have known about all of these displays going into them, so that's not happening yet. If we do see Reality OS, it will be software developers kits. It will be for the developers to start working on and maybe transition hardware. But yeah. Can new Apple TV help with AR VR? I wouldn't have thought so. I'm not sure how it would. But if you have some ideas, please do let us know in the comment section there. Oh, I'm tired today, guys. I'm not going to go on much past an hour, I don't think. Sorry about that. But, yeah. A little bit beat. Evan Rogers, you'd need developers if you're going all in on porting gaming to Mac and have a Gamebox dev kit. That's true, but also they wouldn't be doing it there. That's the point. They're not going and meeting developers. That's not what they're there for. Like, that would be a regular WWDC, but the rest of the whole week is all purely online. They're not there to actually do it in person. Sean P, Apple TV with LiDAR, there's no rumours that we would have anything of that level coming. What we're looking at potentially is a low-end version of the Apple TV, which would be likely to be coming. Arthur Swart, hoping for 1080 Ti-ish performance on an Apple Silicon chip. I think we're already past 1080 Ti type performance on Apple Series chips. Fred33, it's Frederick Orange. How you doing, my friend? No doubt about Apple AR VR OS naming. LiDAR will be lots of things based on it. Oh, yes, I'm very tired. But yeah, I think, yeah, so it's definitely going to be called Reality OS. That's what we are aware of. Are we thinking it's going to be called Apple Reality as well, Fred? Because that's my thinking. That just makes sense if it's going to be called Reality OS. But yeah, Sean, we're not expecting to get the Apple TV with LiDAR built in. I think we will. There's certainly going to be LiDAR built into the AR VR headsets. That's pretty much a given. It looks like it's going to be hand tracking. I don't think there's going to be physical hardware in your hands while you're using it either. That would be my guess. Because if we've got face tracking that's accurate enough that we can do emojis and do that in real time, I don't think there's any issue with tracking hands. Biabisk7, welcome, my friend. This is your first comment. Thank you for being here. In the WWDC invite earlier this week, the faces have different coloured lighting against them, but there's a grey MacBook in front of one of them. I find that interesting. Yeah, but then we had a grey iMac and all the nice colours too. So I think there's a possibility we get MacBook Airs in nice colours. I think we also hopefully get Mac Minis in nice colours, but I'm not as convinced on that one. But if we do get MacBook Airs, I want one. I need it. So yeah. If you've got any more questions for me, guys, for iCave Answers, drop them down in the comments. I will try and get an iCave Answers out for tomorrow. And then we'll do a few bits over the weekend. I might try and get these reviews bashed out finally, because they've been sitting in my in my room for a little while. But if you arrived a little bit later, I have kind of redone the backdrop a bit here and moved some lights around, so it looks a little bit different in here. So I'll be interested to see what you all think of the new kind of setup. Trying to make it as quick as I can for making videos so that I can do them more often and more quickly when we need to. So, for example, nothing is now on tripods in the room. Everything is now attached to walls or shelves or something along those lines. We've got a little light fixture up here that I can basically move one of my lights backwards and forwards when I need to. But yeah, just trying to make it a little bit better. I've put some lighting on the shelf at the back. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts on whether we are going to see NFT stuff coming and crypto in Apple Wallet. Let me know if you think we're going to see AR VR down in the comments as well. It's going to be good. Oh, I think the other thing we should probably talk about is the live stream for WWDC. I was thinking of doing post-show only, but I might try and stream through the whole thing. We won't stream it, but you get my kind of reactions as things happen, and I think that might be interesting. Might be able to get some good clips out of that for afterwards as well. So if anyone is interested in hanging out and watching WW with us, that'd be really cool. Let me know if you would enjoy that, and just, do you want me to start just at the end of the show or just be ready to go and already stream all the way through it? Let me know your thoughts. I'm probably going to look a bit stupid through most of it, like with my mouth wide open though. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you all for being here. Amazing that you do this while having a job as well. Yeah, this week I'm working 48, probably about 52 hours over 4 days at the day job as well. So yeah, it does get a bit tiring. But today I was off because of the Queen. So that's good, isn't it? Even though she can't be bothered to turn up for her own thing tomorrow. Oh, thank you so much, Evan. Appreciate it, my friend. Enjoying my Jubilee so much. But yes, I'm off to bed, I think, soon. Because I'm back at the grindstone in the morning. But at least there is a good coffee machine there. You'd stream with us in the Dwellers? Cool. I think we might do it all the way through. That would be interesting for a change. Because I don't normally do that. But that'd be good. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you in the next one.